What is going on, guys? Welcome back. It has been a while since I posted a video. It's been about 3 months or 4 months, I want to say. I did have a daughter come into the world, so that's been taking a lot of my time, and I did get a new job, which has taken like 50 to 60 hours of my week. So I have been trying to get back into working on the cars. Haven't really done much. So this video is going to be a little bit all over the place. Going to be more of like a vlog style, I guess. Splitting it up between 2 days. It is supposed to snow tomorrow, so I can't really work on the Golf outside in the snow. So I do just have to do a quick oil change on this car. A couple of things that have popped up with this guy. It has been running really well, but I have been getting a check engine light for the coolant bypass valve, which is just the thermostat in these cars. So it randomly will throw a check engine light on it, and it basically just keeps the thermostat open all the time. So it takes a little bit of while to get the coolant up to temp. So I do have to get that done. I eventually will, but I do have a video already on how to do oil changes on a Golf R. If you're watching this video, you probably already know how to do an oil change. So I'll just throw it on a time lapse. I will link the video up here for anyone who maybe doesn't know how to do an oil change on the Golf R. But with that, I'll throw it on a time lapse and just try to knock this out real quick. Not gonna lie, pretty cold out. And I'm gonna ask this. Am I the only one that feels like maybe I'm a bad car enthusiast because I really don't want to be doing my own oil change right now? I would really love to just bring it to a Valvoline, but unfortunately they won't use liquid moly. All right, so while I'm waiting for the oil to completely drain, I'm gonna go ahead and show you something I did get. So for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't seen like the last video I posted a few months ago, I have in the past of the series taken the exhaust manifold off, intake manifold off, de-rusted everything, cleaned up the transmission, did new bushings for the motor mounts here and here. That one is a completely new one. This guy's a little harder to find, so it's like a hard plastic one. I can't remember the name of the plastic at the moment. Went through, cleaned all that up. New to me 16G turbo. Got everything over here cleaned up. Got all new hardware, new studs, cleaned the threads, chased them. I do have something new here though. I did end up pulling the trigger on the ETS lower intercooler piping as well. I'm not 100% sure if these are the right couplers. I might have to buy some that are like a 45-degree bend. It was kind of hard to find online an exact answer as to what exactly like the angle was from this intercooler piping to the stock intercooler. But I mean, honestly, what is left is I do have to wire in the boost controller. I do have to take the mass airflow sensor. I don't know where it is at the moment. And then depin 2 wires, use them for an IAT sensor, which is under here. And then at that point, I just have to install the intake. And then I guess from there, it's pretty much back to where it was when I did take it apart. I do have one last thing to de-rust up here in the back. So that's basically where this car is at. So I guess the next thing that I will jump on in this video probably will be me jumping into the boost controller and the IAT sensor. That's probably gonna be tomorrow since it's gonna be snowing, so I can actually work on the car in here. Probably gonna go ahead, finish up that oil change on the Golf R, and then I guess the next part of this video after that will probably be tomorrow of me working on the Evo. And just like that, oil change is done. With every oil change I do, I always suggest, at least for me, I always go through a little checklist, make sure I didn't forget anything. So I always go through, make sure oil filter is in, has been primed with oil, O-ring has been rubbed, dipstick is back in, 6 quarts of oil in the motor. I always look underneath, make sure not leaking, which it is looking pretty good, and then go ahead and start the car. And of course, as you can see, my lovely little check engine light for the coolant. All right, and just like that, oil change is done. Got that part of the video knocked out, and like I said, I gotta get some errands done today. Probably won't work on the car today, but like I said, tomorrow it's gonna snow, I think, so perfect day to work on a car in the garage. So I'll pick it up tomorrow. All right, so it is the next day. Apparently it didn't snow all day today, so hey, it's a little bit warmer, if anything. I did get started on the Evo. I do have this guy. It is the Grimmspeed 3-port boost controller. It is plug and play for the factory harness, so there is no splicing or anything involved. So I'm gonna go ahead. I think I found the right bolt to bolt the bracket. This is the bracket that the boost controller mounts to. It's stock OEM. I just refinished it in black, got rid of all the rust. The only thing I will say is that the Grimmspeed boost controller for the Evo, the directions in it are incredible. It like lists everything step by step, which port goes where, what routes to what. The only thing that is different on my car for some reason, which I don't know if it's all Evos, right down here. Here's the hole that I chased. Supposedly there is supposed to be a hole somewhere like right here in the side of this frame rail. For some reason, I don't know if it's like just my car or for what reason my car doesn't have a bolt hole that's been threaded into the side of that frame rail. Because if you do look, this is how it's supposed to sit, just like that, and then you bolt in right there. I don't have that, so I am gonna have to get a little creative with how I'm gonna go ahead and bolt that all in, but I'll probably just throw that on a time lapse, get this guy installed, and hopefully get a way to make it work. Okay, so as you can see, it wasn't really working with that bracket. It kind of stinks because I did spend a lot of time de-rusting that big black bracket that I refinished. I don't think I'm going to be able to use it because if you look, the intercooler piping is the stock route for the ETS upper intercooler piping, so it does have to route down right down there. This guy honestly just seems to be kind of getting in the way between the intake being in there and then this pipe needing to go down. So I unfortunately do think I'm gonna have to take this guy and get rid of it. The only thing I could think of is that obviously take this back out, take this guy off, and then figure out a way to bolt the boost controller right there, just so it's below the intake, out of sight, and then kind of out of the way. So I'm gonna keep on going with this, keep it on a time lapse, and guess we'll see where I can get. All right, so I got it all set. It's not like the super cleanest thing in the world, but it isn't really that bad. Let me show you. So this is basically what I came up with. It wasn't too bad. I basically just had to, this part that should be resting right here as it goes down, I had to bend that up so that I could get this thing to sit flush. And once I bolted it in, I took the MAC valve off and just bent it by hand so that it went down. And it is secured on there. It is nice and out of the way. So this does leave plenty of room for the intake and the intercooler piping. So now that that's done, I'm gonna go ahead, just kind of get through trying to run the vacuum lines for the boost controller to the turbo and the wastegate. It is kind of nice though. Grimmspeed does include new vacuum line, which is kind of nice. And it should clean it up quite a bit. So let's jump on that. Okay, so I just went ahead and reset up the stock boost controller lines from the turbo and the wastegate that comes on the car from factory, just in case anyone is doing this job and, like me, maybe lost all their pictures in a broken phone. This is how it is routed. I did find this out. There's a diagram you can get online of like the whole intake vacuum line routing system for like the whole motor, which I'll probably throw in here in case anybody needs it. But basically, all it is, if you look down here, you know what, let me get my flashlight. Okay, that makes it a lot easier. So I took the coupler off for the intake. So basically what you have is down in the turbo elbow down here, that's your compressor. It's going to be sending air from the turbo as a reference to here, which then goes to the wastegate down there. When the certain amount of pressure is felt, it opens the wastegate. And comes over here. Where does it go? Right here. So this is the stock 3-port boost controller. Basically, once it comes from the turbo, tees off to the wastegate. The other side of the T comes over to here and goes to the stock boost controller. And then this guy right here which would be kind of like your vent to atmosphere. This would just go back into the stock intake, stock air intake. What we're gonna do is we're gonna be going straight from boost reference from the turbo over here. I believe it is to the third port. And then from this guy, which is the second port, it's gonna go down over to the wastegate. And then the first port is just gonna breathe to atmosphere. Basically what happens is, boost from here, let's say the spring inside the internal gate is set to 15 PSI. It's gonna come over here. As soon as it hits 15 PSI and we're shooting for 18, this valve will open and let air breathe off, so that until we hit 18, that wastegate is not gonna open. So we'll go ahead, throw it on a time lapse, get that all plumbed up, and then we'll take a look at it after. Okay, so I got that all done. Not sure if anybody saw when I was cutting the hoses. For some reason I was dumb and I did run what should have been port 2 to the port 1. It didn't really make a difference because the length was just about the same. I just swapped it over. So if you do look at that, make sure, I'll go through right now anyway, but this is what we did. Here it is all set up. So from the boost reference from the turbo compressor side, comes up over here, wraps around, goes to port 3 right in the middle. Port 2 over here, which is the correct one. I originally put it here. This is where it should go. Then runs back towards the wastegate. If we did have a mass airflow censored intake, we would then run a hose from here to the stock intake so that the air could then go back into the intake system. We are going to be switching to speed density, so we won't have to use this one, and this guy will just vent right to atmosphere. This guy right here, we have 2 connectors, this one being the mass airflow sensor. We are going to eventually cut these off and then use 2 of these wires for the intake air temp. This guy right here is for the stock boost controller, and that's just going to connect right there to the brand new boost controller. So once you get that done, I'll probably throw the elbow back on here. Not the elbow, the coupler for the intake for the turbo. And then I guess from there, I don't know, maybe try to get the intercooler piping done, because I did take the one up top off just to give more room and more space to see. Probably try to get that routed and then maybe get the lower intercooler pipe on and see where we get to. Okay, I know what I just said, but I did change my mind. I'm gonna hold off on the intercooler pipes for now. I am gonna go ahead and get these brand new radiator hoses installed. They're silicone radiator hoses from Mishimoto. I think the next brand up was like super expensive, so I just got these. They are silicone, so I'm sure they'll hold up well. This guy right here is the longer one. He's gonna go in the bottom to the bottom hole up into the coolant pipe that goes around the back over here. And then this smaller guy goes from the thermostat housing over to the radiator. Thinking about it now, I do kind of wish that I gotten this done before I got the thermostat housing reinstalled, but live and learn. I'll have to try to figure out a way to get in there and get a clamp on there. But keep me in your thoughts. Hopefully this doesn't go too bad. Okay, so that wasn't really that fun. A lot of small spaces, big hands, but let me show you how I got it done. So I realized after about 10 minutes of fighting with it that I could just take the battery that isn't bolted down or anything out and make more room for myself. I did have a worm gear clamp, so I used it right here, so I was able to get like a power ratchet in there to tighten this guy down. So that's all nice and secure. Down on the bottom, wasn't too bad either. Just use one of the spring clamps that was on the stock hoses. All that's left is to run this guy from here over to here. So I'll probably just do that off camera, get it all set up, and then we can keep moving on. All right, so we did get that all set. You know, like I said, the lower radiator hose is kind of tough. This guy wasn't too bad.
I did just use 3 worm gear clamps for up top, and then in the back down here I used a spring clamp. I did go ahead and plug the boost controller in.
Okay, so my camera kept dying, so not sure exactly what the footage before this video is. As I think we did see, I did go ahead and get the radiator hoses all set, got the boost controller all set up. I did go ahead and I started trying to like fit the stock route ETS intercooler piping, the upper intercooler piping. Honestly, it's not looking too bad. I did just kind of like set the intake in just so I'd be able to see what it's going to look like after. I will say, with the stock route intercooler piping for the Evo, I swear I'm going to do a whole video, even if it's just a short, just about how to set that up. Because like these pipes, normally when you're setting intercooler pipes up that are aftermarket, I do feel like it's not that hard to figure out the routing, because usually it's like somewhat close to the stock, and it is somewhat close to stock here, but just like the orientation with the stock blow-off valve, trying to figure out how to angle it, it's honestly like there's no literature out there. So I feel like I'm honestly going to be the first person in the world to make a video about the stock route, because most people go short route. For me, it wasn't worth it because I'm A, not shooting for huge power, and B, I didn't want to spend $400 on a small battery kit to be able to like fit the shorter route intercooler piping. So I'll quickly run through it, and then that's probably going to be it for this video. So all I did was, none of this is even tightened down yet. I put the battery back in just so that I knew it would be in place. I routed it this way. The blow-off valve I did have to shoot towards the back so that I do have the nipple to be able to come off of the manifold for reference. It does come down here, clicks into the coupler here, and then goes down. It does pretty much follow the path. I did buy, get this light out of the way. I did buy the wrong coupler. A guy in a video, I think his name was Evo Skell, he commented on one of my last videos about these couplers. He was having a hard time. I had already ordered a straight coupler that was 2.25 inches and would expand to 2.5 inches for this guy. He had said in his comments he ended up having to do a 45-degree angle, and he said that he had a really tough time getting the 2.25 onto this, which I also found. So I am going to go ahead, throw on order 2 new couplers, one for that side of the intercooler, one for the lower side of the intercooler. And that's pretty much all I can do for today. I can't really get any more done without those couplers being in place. But to be honest, after I get those couplers set, get the lower intercooler piping on the car, I'm basically at that point just looking at reusing the mass airflow sensor with those 2 wires for the air intake temp, which I did go ahead and install. You can kind of see it right there, into the upper intercooler piping. After that, I don't think there's really much left to do with the motor, and at that point then it's going to be jacking the car up in the back, taking the plug out of the gas tank, draining the like 1/16 of a tank that I have, putting fresh gas in, and then trying to get this thing tuned for the cams. Other than that, all I am going to do is I'm going to replace all the seals for the spark plugs and the valve cover, brand new hardware on the valve cover, new hardware for the timing cover. And then at that point, it's just throwing some spark plugs in, trying to get the tune done. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, by like next May, I'll have the car running and I'll actually be able to take it to some shows. Because that's obviously the goal. Then we can get working on this turd back here. But with that, that's all I got for this episode. It feels really good to be back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And until the next one, peace out, keep wrenching.